This is the exact blueprint that allowed me to start a consulting agency and scale it to $1 million ARR before the age of 23. Now, I've come across a lot of videos that go too deep into the theory and don't provide enough practical value. My goal with this course is to give you an actionable guide on how you can get to at least 5K MRR within 60 days or 3x your revenue if you already have a consulting agency. Now, this course was recorded with AI offers in mind, but honestly, it's applicable no matter what service it is that you're selling to your market. I've structured this course in a chronological sequence so that it covers every part from A to Z of growing and scaling a consulting agency, one manageable step at a time. The last part of this course is specifically valuable because I'm going to touch on some points on AI offers. But first, let's start with who this course is for and who I am. So let's get started. Who is this for? All right. Now, this is the very obvious category. You're at $0. You've never signed a client. You've probably been sold the AI hype, right? Starting an agency, selling AI, making money online, using an online vehicle. Probably watched the YouTube videos, maybe even bought a course, and now you're here to basically find out the reality of what it's like to own a successful AI-based agency. Okay. Usually these people are going solo or maybe have one or two partners, right? So that might sound familiar to a lot of you. The next category is you've made some money. Okay, so you've started your own business. You might still be working a day job. You've earned between anywhere from $1 to about 5K per month, which means you probably closed a couple of deals and juggled fulfillment for the first time. So what that means is you're not starry-eyed anymore. You know the process of actually delivering results is quite difficult. Getting clients is quite difficult. And now you want to pivot before AI just leaves you in the dust, right? Now, these people might still be going at it solo or with a partner. And usually, if they're closer towards the 5K mark, then they might have hired some virtual assistants or some really easy basic help. Okay. The next category, which is a very interesting one, is you're already doing 10K per month. Okay. So this means that you've got proof of concept in the market. You've built something solid, but you can feel like your edge is dulling a little bit. And that's usually because you've got a ton of things on your plate. You don't have the correct systems in place. And now what you want to do is basically build something real, right? You're here to sharpen what's already working, inject AI into your offer the right way, and basically become irreplaceable and stop getting ignored by your market, right? So these people want more breathing room, more time, and the focus is largely on building a small team and building some systems. So that's going to sound familiar and relatable to a lot of different people. Okay, so these were the buckets that I just mentioned. You got 0, around about 5K, and then 10K per month. Beautiful. Now, who am I and who is Ollie? So my name is Rudy. I run a marketing agency for law firms. Okay, so that's my niche. I'm in the law firm niche. I've done about $1 million in revenue, which isn't anything too spectacular, but it's something that I'm very, very proud of. I've been able to build a team of about 15 people, with about 5 to 10 of those being contractors, very, very loyal contractors. So I run a lean, efficient team. I absolutely love my business. And as you can see, it gives me time to do things like this as well, which is what I enjoy, teaching, right? My business runs on autopilot, my agency. And yeah, it's been just an amazing, amazing journey. So first of all, a little bit of social proof, because I know that that's something that I have to share. On average, we do anywhere from about like 40 to 50K US per month. And basically, our agency just offers one service, which is paid ads, primarily Google ads. One service marketing agency, I've been able to grow to $1 million in revenue. We typically, this is obviously an AI generated image, but we typically have a pack calendar. I've also been able to build a community of law firm owners from all over the world. So as you can see, we've got clients from literally everywhere. I also had a best-selling book in the legal niche, so I definitely know what I'm talking about. I've definitely had some success. Now, this first section is by far the most fundamental part of running a successful agency, and it's all about dialing in your offer. In this section, I'm actually going to show you what the offer was that scaled my agency to $1 million in ARR. And I'm also going to go and take this one step further and show you some advanced techniques on how exactly to craft an advanced offer that's going to allow you to charge up to 6, 7, 8, all the way up to $10,000 sometimes,
paid in full for your ideal client avatar.
What is an agency or an AI agency, right? The way I look at it is it's four things. Okay, you have your offer, onboarding. Okay, so that means the person becomes a client. You have fulfillment and then upsells. That's all it is. Keep it super, super, super simple. Do not overcomplicate it. Now, today I want to talk about offer because offer is one of the most important things. First of all, copycat offers and just chasing AI hype is a race to the bottom. What you want to pursue is the rule of four ones, okay? And a lot of people would disagree with me on this, and I will fight them to the ends of the earth because I have been through this myself. My students have been through this, and I know for a fact that if your problem is you're struggling to get clients, you don't have one offer, you don't have one avatar, you don't have one market, and you don't have one acquisition system. So this is your fix right now. This is the bitter pill that you all need to swallow if you're struggling generating clients. Now, what this means is you're targeting one very, very specific person, right? So with me, it's law firms. My client avatar is law firm owners that have between 1 to 10 staff. They usually have two practice areas as opposed to single practice area law firms. And that is why I'm able to constantly build offers that win in the market. Now, I haven't had the same offer for law firm owners for a very long time, right? I keep changing my offer like once a year. At first, it was Facebook ads, then it was chatbots, then it was Google ads, then it was Google ads plus CRM. Now it's an AI CRM, right? So offers are going to change, but if you can nail your client avatar market and you have one way of generating clients, like you just really nail one system first, that's when you'll start to see some real traction. Okay. How do I figure out what my offer is? Okay, good question. So the only way that you can figure out what your offer is by picking one market and probably picking the market that you have the most intimate knowledge of. Okay. Um, a market that you don't need to like learn the lingo for. So let's say, whether it's like for me, it's lawyers. I understand how to speak in their language. And then fundamentally using this method here to create an offer and testing it. And when I say testing it, I mean use one of the free cold acquisition methods, just cold call, outreach, go find a business in person and pitch them your offer. And honestly, if you haven't actually got your first client yet, then you should have no issue, like running, let's say, for example, like working for free for the first one, getting that your initial result. And I'm not like big on running free trials and things like that, but when you haven't got your first client, I think it's absolutely okay to, offer your services for free for the first one in exchange for a testimonial afterwards. And the way that you can pitch this arc is you can simply say, hey, this is a new beta program that we're running for, let's say your niche is dentists. This is a beta program we're running for dentists. We don't want there to be any cost for everyone who joins the beta program. We're only working intimately with 2 dentist clinics. So, we're not going to charge you anything, but in exchange, if, you get this XYZ outcome, would you be okay to give us a testimonial or give us a referral or work with us after the free trial is done? So that's kind of how I would position it if I had absolutely no idea what problem my niche faced. If you have a bit of capital, another thing that you can do is simply just test it by, like literally running ads. That's usually a very quick, you get very instant feedback as to, whether people are responding to your ad or not. So sometimes like I've launched an offer in different markets, so testing different regions, and no one, like I get no leads and my lead cost jumps up to like 70, 80, $90 per lead. And I'm like, okay, well, if people aren't giving me their details, then this probably isn't a problem for them, or the pain is not strong enough, or they're not responding to the offer. There's something that's broken fundamentally. And another thing is if you're happy to be on camera, if you're a content creator, or if that's something that you want to explore, Ollie absolutely nailed this. He just kept making content until he found an angle that really, really worked. And the beauty of AI right now is it is such a trending topic that like it's much easier to get a viral video or a video that reaches your audience if the topic is AI. compared to like just generic topics within that market. So let's say ARC again, the answer is dentist, and you create like content around dentists. It's much easier to start seeing how people respond to that content, right? And based on that, like it's an organic test. You can find out whether or not there's enough of a pain there for you to pursue that as your offer. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Yeah, absolutely. You need to A/B test different offers. Absolutely. But like again, I'm super anal on this is like pick one avatar. And something that I didn't really touch on in the actual, webinar was it's like avatar is different to market, okay? When I talk about one avatar, I'm not thinking like law firms. I'm thinking the law firm owner that is in a partnership with another law firm owner is managing between 2 to 10 staff, is taking a shit ton of, free consult calls, has no time, probably left, big corporate because they were fed up with the culture. They wanted to start their own firm for financial freedom. They probably, are willing to spend about maybe 20% on marketing. They're usually a little bit risk averse. So that's what I mean by avatar. And what's so crazy is like when start positioning your offer and start thinking about one avatar, you can actually go wider with let's say the content that you create or the ads that you create or the landing page that you create. So here's what I mean by that. If I'm just going broad market, like law firm owners, right? Law firm owners in general range like across a whole different type of, law firms. You've got big law firms that are doing like millions a year. You've got solo law firm owners that are just starting out. And that's making content about that would just be like law firm related. Whereas if I'm just pursuing this avatar of law firms between the sizes of 1 to 10, busy law firm owner with a partner, et cetera, et cetera. I know exactly what's going on in that person's life. I know that they probably left big corporate. I know that what their capacity for risk is. I know how much they're probably spending on marketing. I know kind of what CRMs they're using. Usually they're not using like any advanced CRM. They're usually using like the shitty legal ones like Clio, Grow, and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I'm able to tailor all my messaging to them. So by going up that one vertical, you actually can be a bit broader and like you can hit all these different topics. So Daniel, okay, so that's a good question. How do you know your avatar better than anyone else in the world? Like, there's two ways to answer this. One, I can tell you, yeah, I've had 4 years of experience. I studied a law degree myself. Like, I worked in law firms, and that's why I know the avatar better than anyone else. And if you guys look internally, I'm sure you'll find, your own variation or version of this, which will be like whether it's, gyms, you've grown up around gyms your whole life, or whether you know spirituality better than anyone else, or whatever your topic might be. Everyone has that one environment that they know better than most people. But realistically, Daniel, an exercise that you can do is sit down, literally for an hour, lock yourself in a room, and write down absolutely everything from fears, motivations, like, bank account size, everything that you can assume about this client avatar. And it sounds like a silly exercise, but I promise you it will help you so much to get into the shoes of the way that your prospect is thinking. And that's really, really critical. Like, if you're pursuing startups, okay, like who are is it a startup founder that's, recently started working with a VC? Is it a startup founder that's bootstrapped? Because those are two very different client avatars, right? Like a bootstrapped startup founder is going to approach your solution very differently to someone who's VC backed, right? Like VC backed startups are going to, look for proof of concept, social proof. They want to see that you've got results in the past. Whereas a bootstrap founder might be a bit more open to hearing you out, but they might be tighter on funds, for example. They might be more technical, so they're going to speak the language to you. They might not have as much in their bank account because they're putting everything towards the business, whereas VCs, VC-backed startups might have more cash to play around with. So like sit down for an hour and write down every little detail. What's their favorite movie to watch? Like everything, because this is really valuable knowledge to have. And it will give you the confidence when you speak to your market, because you can repeat their pains back to them in a better way that they can conceptualize it themselves. And then that's what allows you to fundamentally make the sale. And yet it's not directly AI related, but like this is the stuff that's going to help you sell. Fundamentally, if you're not selling in your business, there is no business, right? So yeah, I would highly recommend that if any of you guys are struggling with that right now, to do that. And how did you find that pain point won't be taken over by AI? Yeah, it's a good question. I think look, I think it's very hard to predict what's happening, like where we're like how rapidly things are moving. Like it's very hard to predict what tools there will and won't be. And the thing is, like, it's a level playing field. Like no one can predict that. No one is able to predict that. But what I can go off is my understanding of the past and, the way that I'm forecasting the future. And like because I've been an agency owner now for like 4 or 5 years, and some of you in this chat have been in business for even like significantly longer, go off what you've seen. There are certain things that are trending, and then there are certain things that are always going to be there. Like people are always going to need help getting clients. Always. It doesn't matter what AI tool there is, because when it comes to like getting clients, it's a human to human decision, right? We're not at a point yet, or we probably won't be at a point anytime soon where your AI is going to sign a deal with another company's AI and you won't even know about it. Like we're still far away from that. So there are fundamental problems that are always going to exist, and you just need to find out what they are for your niche. Honestly, like this is another thing you can do. You can go and speak to someone that you know that's in that niche. Don't pitch them your service. Don't do anything. Simply just ask them. Ask them like what is the thing that you're struggling with the most? Where do where do you feel like someone would be able to come in and help you provide an AI solution, right? That's a wild concept to contemplate. Yeah, it is. It is. It is a wild concept, and I'm sure we'll get there at some point. But we're not there yet, right? Like at the end of the day, like it's still human to human decision making. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Cool. So this is my website. This is the landing page. We don't really send too much traffic to this, because what actually happens now is we have a community of 1,000 law firms, so we get a lot of business come through there. But the way we kind of promote it is we have three, I guess, like our service is broken down into three things that we execute on. One is the lead generation, which is the Google ads. And then two is the AI lead nurturing. So the way we kind of sell this as an offer is anyone who just wants leads, right? Like just leads. We tell them like, cool, we'll get you leads. And we've got a package for lead generation. But we actually do not work with clients that won't let us do their automations. Like we do not work with clients that don't let us do that. In fact, every client that we have right now, we've done their go high level build for them. And that is why I work with firms that are between 2 to 10, because I know 80% of the time they don't have a proper CRM in place. They just don't. And like I can bank on that. And that's why I include this as part of the offer, because I say, if we're not doing your automations, we're not setting up your email automations, we're not doing all that kind of stuff, you won't get results. Like we can't assure you that you'll get results. So this is an integral part of what we do. Also, if a client ever tells us, oh, but I just want to run, like, why do I need a landing page? Like you guys are charging us to build a landing page. I'm like, I'll straight up tell them, we will never ever send traffic to your website, because again, our goal is to control the outcome as much as we can. We want to get you the result. We don't want to, after 3 months go back and say, oh, you guys, but you didn't let us, create our own landing page, which is why you didn't get a result. We want to have the blame on us, which is why we say, we're going to build a landing page for you. We're going to set up the ad campaign for you. We're going to manage all of your leads, build your CRM for you. And that's also why we charge upfront and why we charge the way that we do. So like 6 months up front, you know what I mean? Like we just collect the cash. Monthly, like we just try and avoid getting clients on monthly. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so I'm only been really in business for about a month so far.
Hmm.
in terms of AI consulting. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm more general.
Hmm.
I have a framework that's, not necessarily niche specific. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Um, so what's the importance of niching down versus staying general? Um, because like I said, in the construction field, it's fairly difficult to
Hmm.
get, bigger construction contractor companies to want to accept the fact that AI can be implemented to help them. Um, I did masonry for 12 years. I know a
Yeah.
lot of contractors, like big name companies in my area,
Hmm.
and I have personal relationships with them.
Yeah.
And they don't like AI. They're like morally against it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I kind of want to take a step back. I even tried marketing or, I guess marketing to their like internal teams, their ad ads and their
Hmm.
marketing agencies, their HR departments, all of that. They're just
Yeah.
very anti.
Hmm.
So in terms of my niche, that's kind of where I am, other than knowing a lot about AI. And I'm not going to be able
Hmm.
to, sell AI consulting to other people that know AI.
Hmm.
So I guess my question is, with will staying more of a general consultant to a variety of companies, will that be a downside?
Okay, good question. First of all, I'll say two things. Like, number one, I relate massively because, as you can imagine, law firm owners are the exact same. Like, so
Mm.
many of them are very, very slow to adoption. There's a massive fear around, like, like, oh, but what if this happens? What if that happens? The
Especially with data, it's very sensitive in the law firm
100%,
industry.
100%. And I
You got
can
to be
fully,
careful.
fully understand that. And I agree with it. And the first thing to do is to not don't fight back. Never ever fight back. Like that's the first thing that I would say. Don't tell them
Right.
like you're wrong, right? Because then it gets into like
That
that
never works.
dynamic. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You need to understand fundamentally where the root fear is coming from, right? And like I don't know what it is for your market, but I'm kind of able to identify it now very easily for law firms. Like I know where that root fear is coming from. And
Mm.
like if I was to put it in one word, it's like security. That's all it is. It's security. Lawyers are very risk averse. It's security. So what you have to then do is in the front end messaging is focus entirely on that one thing. Now, with you, I feel like you've obviously reached out to your personal connections. It's tough, and you've come to this conclusion that most of these construction workers are, let's say, anti-AI. The reality is, though, find out what they're not anti. They're probably not anti making money. No one is anti making money. Probably not anti
Right.
saving time. So what I would suggest is change the conversation from these are the AI tools I'm going to say sell you to look, I have literally found a system or built a system that's going to save you a shit ton of time or money. You would be stupid to not listen to this or to at least see how it's relevant because your competitors down the road are using it. Like this is the truth of the world. And it's that like minor subtle reframe that you have to do when you're speaking to them that I think will go a really, really long way. But also, I'm not the type of person to say like go and beat a dead horse. If you genuinely feel like, Rudy, I've tried my heart out, like I've run ads, I've done this, I've done that, they're very, very resistant. Okay, cool. Go ahead with your broader AI consulting, but
Mhm.
don't give up on this one offer, one avatar, one channel, one price. What I
I
mean
think I
by that,
kind of touched upon it
yeah,
when you were going through the questions earlier, because I just had a conversation with a kid who's just
mhm,
starting out in construction, and
yeah,
he's managing everything. So
yeah,
he's his own lead finder, he's his own marketer, salesman. He
yeah.
lost a job trying to put in a door for somebody for $500. That same person uh, hired somebody else to put the door in for 8,000. So he messed up because he didn't look professional. So
Yeah,
I told him,
absolutely.
okay, well, you don't have a website. You don't have, anything that really makes you look professional. So I can help you with
Yeah,
that. He
yeah,
doesn't have money to really start. So
Hmm.
I helped him a little bit for free. Um, but even
Yeah.
still, he's kind of like he wants to do it himself. So it's,
Mhm.
you're dealing with the pride of somebody like that in that case, even though I
Yeah.
showed him value.
Yeah, and look, another thing that I will say, like what I was kind of getting to is even if you were to do general consulting, Richard, the space
Mhm.
of AI is so broad, you can still find one avatar. And I'll let Ollie talk about this tomorrow because he within 2 months gained like 20,000 followers on Instagram making AI content, but he doesn't make AI content for everyone. He doesn't help everyone with AI. Like he's helping a very
Okay.
specific client avatar. And that's people that are buying like templates, people that are very interested, non-technical, maybe slightly leaning towards the technical side, but basically getting caught up in just white labeling things, not really owning and building any infrastructure. Sarah, do you have a question? Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I wanted to just chime in with what Richard had mentioned about somebody who maybe isn't afraid of AI, but doesn't have a budget to pay a consultant. But I just had this thought Saturday morning. I woke up with in my head, I'm thinking about pivoting to offer this. Would you recommend like a coaching package? I'll sit down with this door guy for 3 sessions and you sell him a package for, it's like I don't want to lowball myself, but $500 just to start getting some clients. Is that something you would recommend, Rudy, or no?
Yeah, great question. Yes, 100%. Like, so the way I perceive this is anytime
Yeah.
you can deliver value upfront, you can also collect cash upfront. And sometimes it's the least friction way to just get the ball rolling. So what you can say to people is, exactly what you just said. Like, yeah, there's all these AI tools, there's AI consultants that charge you XYZ per month. I just want to come in one time, explain everything to you, give you all the knowledge, and I'm going to charge you, let's say, I wouldn't charge 500 to be honest. I would look to charge a lot more than that.
5,000.
Yeah, but I mean, look,
Yeah.
you can even if it's someone who can't afford and you're just literally just trying to get the ball rolling, $1,000, I'll come in, I'll spend the whole day with you and explain everything to you. And what that does as well, Sarah, is if you record that session, it gives you an entire breakdown. You can see exactly how they're responding to certain information that you're giving them. You can see where the gaps in their knowledge are. Because a massive thing that we don't realize, which I've had to learn several times over, is language, right? Is a massive barrier. I could be saying something one way and the person doesn't know what I'm speaking about, which is why when I dropped in the chat, like, who knows what VSLs are? I could have just gleaned over that and people would have been stuck there thinking like, well, what's a VSL? So you can go ahead and do that, get some cash in your pocket and find out like more nuanced understanding of like where the pain points are. So the thing I want to touch on, based off what you were saying as well, Richard, is people like the way I see this is like you go into a doctor's office, right? And they're not gonna like you might need a certain type of medication or medicine, right? That the doctor knows that you need. So, like, I'll explain this even simpler. When you've got a kid, when you've got like a petulant child, right? You can say, you have to eat your vegetables. You have to eat your vegetables. They're not going to want to eat their vegetables. But then you can go make a pasta and then you can just put vegetables in the sauce and they're getting their vegetables. And yes, I mean, it is better to educate the client. It's better to do like make sure that the person knows what they need. But sometimes people just think that they want something, but what they actually need is totally different. So you just need an in, basically. So that's kind of like my approach to all of that stuff. So I hope that helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to jump in and ask a question? We still got some time.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up to my first question. If I'm offering, let's say,
Hmm.
coaching package or implementation strategy package where I'll sit down with somebody for a day for $1,000,
Yeah.
would that be breaking your rule of having like one offer, one avatar, one market? Because my offer right now is I cut costs, I save time, I get you more leads.
Hmm.
It's like a package that we help grow your business. How do we do
Yeah.
that? By automating manual tasks that take up your valuable time, that offer the low value tasks, minimal
Hmm.
manual admin tasks.
Hmm.
And I would prefer to do the build and implementation right now until I get going, until I can hire a team.
Hmm.
But then it's like I've already pivoted like 3 times and offered super niche products and super niche tools, and then now another offer. Here's a coaching package.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand. I think like as long as you're focusing on that one offer at one time, so you're not spread too thin, I think it's completely fine. Like,
Okay.
look, the only
Okay.
advice I would give you personally, Sarah, is maybe just try narrow down the avatar a little bit more because right now what I'm seeing in the market is there are a lot of people that are selling like automations and similar
Mhm.
offer to what you're selling, but the problem is about 70 to 80% of them cannot execute.
Yes.
They basically don't really have a system. They're just reselling something, right? Whether it's like go high level automations or whatever. Like, and that's where the skepticism in the market is coming from, is from those 70 to 80% of people that are just kind of like out there for a quick cash grab and they're chasing the hype of AI. And so you're competing against them. So my suggestion would be to focus like on one specific type of business owner. Whether like it could be as simple as like we want to target female business owners, or we want to target like business owners in a particular state. You can discriminate by geography, by gender, by business size. Like this sounds silly, but if you go on LinkedIn, if you've ever gone on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can see all the different ways that they categorize businesses. Like those are the categories that will construct your client avatar, right? So when I started thinking about client avatars was when I was using Sales Navigator 5 years ago at my recruitment company I was working for. And I was like, oh yeah, you can. I mean, there are law firm owners that I can select here that have a degree, that worked in a large bank, that now own their own business, that have 2 to 10 staff,
Mhm.
that are based in this country. And I can basically tell you exactly the personality of that person because I've got so many ways of categorizing them. So even if you just
Yeah.
add one of those layers in.
Yeah, I think this is me pivoting again. I just started February 5th, I launched my
Mhm.
website.
Yeah,
But
awesome.
I decided to target property management offices because they have traditional businesses, and I
Hmm.
believe from the research I've done, they do a lot of manual tasks by hand, probably on post-it notes,
Hmm.
and they all have, teams under 50 people. They have a certain budget, so they're,
Hmm.
up to, 10 to 50
Yeah,
million dollars in revenue. In Denver. A lot of them are women, but it's like the decision makers are usually the SVPs or
gotcha.
the
Yeah.
office manager's boss. So it would be like director level or something.
Hmm.
And they're so lean, they're so overworked, they're so overwhelmed with their manual tasks that they don't have time to pass me the details that I would need to even build an integration for them or an automation.
Yeah.
So I think I might just switch to somebody a little bit more fun to work with, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing either. Like, in my last challenge, I mentioned this. I was like, there's been so many times I've had to make the decision to just like, do I want more money or do I want to actually enjoy my life? And like, I love this type of stuff more than anything. Like I love coaching business owners. Like I absolutely fucking love it. And I've done this stuff for lawyers as well, but I prefer this. And that's why I spend my time doing this. So it's definitely it's definitely like a decision that you have to make yourself. And honestly, I think most of you in this call would agree that yes, money is very, very important, but you also don't want to turn your life into a living hell. That's not what we're trying to do by building a business. Like the business fundamentally is being built as a vehicle for freedom. And if you're not happy, you're not free. Like if you're not content, you're not peaceful, you're not working with people you enjoy working with, the argument is that you're not really free, right?
Once you have your offer dialed in, you now need a system in order to attract high qualified prospects to your business. Now, this next section is going to cover client acquisition, telling you the systems that you can utilize when you're under leveraged on capital and systems that you can use that are slightly more advanced that allow you to attract customers instead of chasing them. This section is incredibly important, so make sure that you watch it all the way through.
Now let's jump in into the psychology and economics of selling AI offers, okay? Because this is really, really, really critical. What is business? Business is simply psychology and economics in motion, right? I was not a math person at all. I never liked to look at the numbers of my business. But when you understand that getting from 0 to 30K a month and then getting from 30K a month to 50 and then from 50 to 100 is simply just maths plus a bit of psychology, it makes things a lot easier. And I'm going to explain that in a bit more detail. Okay. First, let's start with psychology. Now, the problem with selling services in 2025, and let me know if you can relate to this, is that people are pushing emotional buttons, they bait and switch, and then the buyer has to reluctantly give you money. So you're begging your clients to work with you. And that is the absolute worst place to be in, right? Because instead of using pull marketing, you're using push marketing. And what happens is fulfillment just becomes a nightmare, and then the money that you actually make is just not worth it. And you guys would have seen people like Andy Elliott who show you all these aggressive sales tactics and stuff. That is by far the worst method to take, right? Because yes, you might be able to push that client over the line and put some money in your pocket, but is that money worth it? No, right? It's not worth it, I promise you. These clients are usually going to give you the biggest headache. They rightfully already are angry and disappointed with you because you've pushed them to make a decision, right? And you haven't actually shown them the pain back to them, like you haven't repeated their pain back to them and shown them the solution, which is why you're not on equal footing with your client. It's the worst way to do business, okay? What you have to know is customers operate on a factor of pure skepticism, okay? Pure skepticism. They like, this is the nature of the market right now. Like right now, actually, I will say this. A lot of you guys would have been skeptical of this webinar, right? Like you would have been thinking, oh, this guy's just going to pitch us. He's going to do this. Like he's not going to give me any value. Like he's trying to get me to upgrade to VIP, like all this kind of stuff, right? So I know that. Like I know that you guys are going to be skeptical. And for you guys, shilling a generic AI offer in their mind, right, is just another headache and another expense to consider. So start thinking like that. Don't think that you're giving them the absolute, best solution that they need. That might be the case, but they're not going to want to listen to that. They're thinking this is another headache, this is another expense. Their perception is everything, okay? Think about this. How does your solution fit into their ecosystem? All right, it's not about you. It's about their ecosystem. They've got staff costs, they've got software costs, they've got marketing, websites, expenses, whole bunch of things, right? Where does your solution fit in? So the way I like to say this is react to their anticipated reaction, okay? Like I've just told you guys, I anticipated how a lot of people were going to react to this 3-day challenge. And based off that, I made my decisions about certain types of messaging, certain types of systems I used, right? There's a very deliberate reason I had the WhatsApp group set up, right? So that people can access me prior to the challenge starting, right? So these are the decisions that you can make when you anticipate their reaction and you react to that ahead of time. Now, an easy way to get your first client, okay, is simply give immediate value upfront. But this can sound like marketing speak and just sound really wishy-washy. So what does that actually mean? All it means is you need to give them personalized effort. That's the way I describe giving value, is personalized effort. So think about it this way, right? If you go into your local coffee shop and you do a demo for them on, I don't know, let's say like a new website or something, and you come in already with the website kind of mocked up and pre-prepared, that local coffee shop is going to be like, wow, like this person has put in effort and it's personalized to me. And that is the best way to land your initial clients, right? So just keep that in mind. But how you actually do this is obviously going to depend on your client acquisition method, meaning the way that you choose to get clients. Okay. So I'll come back to that in a second. But before that, let's move on to the math of scaling from 0 to 5K, 5 to 10K, and then 10 to 30. What you need to do is treat your business as pure maths. Okay. Scaling to 30K is not a big thing at all. It's literally just numbers. I promise you that. So the way that you win is by being able to basically spend more to acquire each customer. Okay, so just stick with me here. If Ollie and I are both going after the same customer, and Ollie can spend $30, let's say, on ads, and I can spend $100 on ads, I win that client. Now, if I know that that client is worth $1,000 to me, was it worth me spending $100? Absolutely, it was, right? I took a $900 win. I might have spent 3 times as much as Ollie, but at the end of the day, because the client had $1,000 lifetime value, I was able to make money and Ollie was left in the dust. And that's honestly what's happening to a lot of you guys, right? Is you're not understanding why when you try to use client acquisition methods, you're constantly getting beaten by competitors and it doesn't make sense to you how people are running ads all the time and just like, where is this money coming from, right? So basically what I'm saying is the highest bidder is going to win the customer acquisition battle. Basically, the highest bidder is going to get the client. And the war, however, is won by also having a healthy lifetime value. Lifetime value means the total amount of money on average that your client is going to pay you for your services. Okay, so it's a mix of the two. You want to make sure you're the highest bidder and you also want to win with lifetime value. Now, like I was saying, think about this, right? There are people like, I don't know, Alex Hormozi, Sabri Subi, Iman Gadzi. These are guys that you've probably all seen, right? Um, all of these people are running ads constantly. They have amazing, amazing organic systems, but they're still running ads. They're spending so much to acquire their clients because they have the math down to a T. Okay. Charlie, great question. I will come to cold acquisition systems in a second. What I'm trying to do here is just frame your mindset and explain to you why someone like Alex Hormozi, who's crushing it with organic, who wouldn't need to spend a single cent to acquire a customer, is also still spending that money because all they want to do is basically just win the customer. They just want to be the first to get the customer. And that's really, really critical. That's the way you guys have to start thinking. All right. So if you want $30,000 per month, or let's swap this out with 10K per month or 5K per month, whatever it might be, shoot for that amount in your lifetime value per client. That's a general rule that I find is really useful. So if I want to make 30K per month, I want to aim that each client of mine over the lifetime value, so maybe like 6 months to 12 months, pays me and my company $30,000. All right. So when you're building your offer, if your lifetime value is 30K, you can actually charge 50% of that upfront. Now, this is going to make a lot of people kind of squirm and think like, how the fuck can I charge a business 15 grand upfront, right? Like I've been taught to sell them on $1,000, $2,000 a month retainers, $3,000 a month retainers. But why can you do this? Because you will make up the difference when you execute, when you deliver them a result very quickly through the goodwill that you build, because you've now acquired that client and delivered something for them from referrals, from support costs, and from upsells. That's what allows you to be able to charge 50% of your lifetime value upfront. So if you're trying to get to 10K a month, charge 5K upfront, like just do it, right? Don't put them on a 2K per month retainer. Charge 5K upfront for implementation of the thing that you're going to sell. And then the rest of the $5,000, because you've already delivered the result, because they've immediately started to see the benefits, you can charge for support costs. You can ask them for referrals. You've built goodwill with the client, so you might be able to upsell them. They might say, hey, you did a fantastic job on this project. Can you do X, Y, and Z for us as well, right? What's also fantastic about this is you can position this as, hey, you get all the value upfront. So we're just focused on the result instead of charging you every month, right? We're not here to take your money every month because like I said, remember, customers operate on a factor of pure skepticism. That's why you say, we're going to deliver this upfront. It's at $300 per month. That scared me. Why not 2K per month? Great question, Charlie. So we do have more expensive packages that we sell per month. That's our ads packages. But for support, we just have one support staff that is basically in a Slack channel. So it's really easy fulfillment. It's like a no-brainer offer. So charge upfront for installation. What that means is you get more cash to acquire customers. So let's say you charge $15,000 upfront. You can now spend that $15,000 on whatever acquisition channel you have. And like I said, we're going to come back to that in a second. And that means you can get more customers. You can also spend a bit of extra money on actually nailing the fulfillment, right? Imagine you're charging a client, you're brand new to running a business, or you've just got a little bit of money that you're sitting on. You charge a client $2,000 per month, right? That $2,000, you can't really go and use that and hire support, pay for software, like do all of those things. It's just not enough capital. So make sure you charge upfront, at least close to 50%. And also this will help you get closer to your lifetime value a lot quicker. Abbas, good question. Charlie, good question. There's a lot of questions about client acquisition. Do not worry, we will cover that before the end of the session. Sorry, I just need to take a quick drink. So what this does is this removes the risk and opens you up to scale when you start putting more cash in your pocket, okay? So this is what everyone has been asking about, client acquisition. So let's break it down, okay? First of all, a lot of people will say that simple funnels and simple acquisition is better than complex acquisition. No, okay? Like just straight out no, okay? Complex acquisition beats basic acquisition always, right? Like think about like just the food chain in general. Like more complex organisms will always consume and eat up smaller organisms, right? Like it's just a very obvious thing, and people like to tell you that no, just run the most simple funnel, do the most simple thing. No, okay. At a simple level, right? If I was to explain this, you plus a virtual assistant is going to beat just you every single time. So adding that one layer of complexity, just by adding a virtual assistant, that's going to beat just you alone every single time. Okay. And at a more advanced level, right? A full team with multiple client acquisition channels and a key person of influence is going to beat everyone. So that's kind of like the whale in this scenario, right? So complexity absolutely is required. So get good at managing complexity, okay? But the goal is not just to make your funnels and your acquisition systems complex just for the sake of it, okay? What you want to do is make sure that your system is more capable and efficient, which is what makes it complex, right? So I'm not saying make it fancy. It has to be as capable and efficient as possible. And that's fundamentally what's going to bring in the complexity. Because let me tell you, it is not easy to run a capable and efficient and profitable client acquisition system. Getting clients is incredibly hard. And the ultimate irony is a lot of you guys are helping other people get clients, right? So you're selling AI systems that help people generate clients, filter leads, do whatever. But you guys yourselves are struggling to generate clients. So nail it for yourself first, and it will make it so much easier to position yourself and sell to your clients. You'll just have a new confidence, right? Because you were able to sell yourself, therefore it's a lot easier for you to sell the thing to them, right? Now, someone asked, I think it was Debbie, asked about cold acquisition, right? So if you're at zero, okay, your advantage, like I said, is hyper-personalization, okay? You should have no shame, okay? You should have do not get caught up in like overthinking anything. Literally just go find local businesses that you can literally walk into and pitch your thing to them. Show them your thing. Do a custom demo for them. Okay. Go reach out to family friends. Go reach out to the contacts that you have on LinkedIn, right? Your first degree connections. You should have no issue just doing cold outreach. Okay. Now, other methods like from 0 to 5, a lot of people, do cold email, right? They do cold calling, cold DMs, cold looms. And my thoughts on this is, even though I personally hate cold calling, like I just despise it. I did it for a long time. Do not like it. Do not recommend it. I will say cold outreach and cold acquisition can work, and it has worked very well for a lot of businesses. Now my business does no cold outreach. It's all warm outreach. But in saying that, I ran on cold for a very long time. But the only thing with cold outreach is pick one of these channels, but make sure that you have an edge. Okay. That's what's really, really critical. Like when we were doing cold emails for our law firm marketing agency, at the time, what we could do is create a Loom video. Okay, so those of you that know Loom, it's like a screen recording tool. We would just make one generic Loom video saying like, hey, this is what we do. This is like how we've worked with law firms in your country before. And, these are the results we've gotten them. And then I would just change the thumbnail to match the website of the law firm that I was sending the Loom to. And all I would do is invite them to the Loom, which would then send them an email. Now, Loom has since patched that method, but we were getting so many booked calls because we were basically leveraging Loom's email deliverability in order to get people to check these. And when they clicked the Loom, right, it was a super personalized video which had their website on it. So like with cold outreach, find an edge, okay? And definitely like 100% hyper personalization is what's going to win. So even when cold calling does work, because one of my students swears by cold calling, it's because his script is so natural and so personalized and just so on point. Like it's as soon as the person picks up the phone, he's talking to them like a friend. And that's what it is, right? Cold acquisition is tough because you're reaching out cold. The same way, right, that none of us like getting a cold call, your clients also will not appreciate getting like cold outreach unless you give value upfront, okay? Which means personalized effort. Remember, personalized effort, okay? Now, in terms of warm slash hot acquisition, okay, this is kind of the other methods that you can use. You've got running ads, which is, I swear by it, it gives you predictability. It's a must in your business when you're starting to earn some money. I would say, like, as soon as you're making a couple of thousand in your business, you should be looking and at least studying into paid ads, okay, because it's really important to bring that element or that arm into your business. A bit more advanced is if you have a digital product front end. Okay, so for those of you that are in VIP, I can walk you guys through this in a bit more detail. My last challenge that I hosted, I did it entirely on this. So I showed you guys at the start, I launched a book. Okay, that was a very advanced method of generating clients because it took a lot of effort up front and I needed to have, proof of results. I needed to have an actual system in the market that was working in order to be able to write like a book and use that to bring in clients, right? So I was running ads to the book, putting them into a community, and then signing clients that way. So that's a little bit more advanced. But for you guys selling AI offers, right? If you were to create, let's say, like a lead magnet, okay, which Ollie's going to be discussing on day 3, like a lead magnet, like templates, things that are like genuinely valuable, not just a shitty 3-page PDF that you're trying to get your clients to download. If it's something that's genuinely valuable, people will come in. And I just want to like share this story with you guys as well. It's Ollie's story to share, but and Ollie, feel free to chime in. But Ollie, before he even ran a business, sold anything, he was just giving just straight value on his social media. He grew it very quickly. And how many emails were you able to collect? Like,
Yeah, I got to like 3,000 pretty quickly, and it was one framework basically condensing 2 years of startup knowledge of going from idea to app and like
yeah,
lots of effort, lots of stuff, and just yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, that's what I mean. So like again, the smart thing that Ollie did was even though he was at zero technically, he instead of going for, push marketing, which is cold acquisition, he tried to attract customers in. And when something clicked with his market, they gave him his emails. And like I guarantee you, with based on average conversion rates, like even if you convert 1 to 2% of that email list, like 1% at worst, right? What is that? I'm not good at math, but that's like what, 30,
20, 30 people.
20, 30 people? I mean, like, think about it, guys. Like, it's so obvious that you should be leaning more towards warm. But like I said, if you have an edge with cold acquisition, understandable and it can work, right? More advanced stuff, referral program. So referrals are funny because referrals kind of show up at the low end where there's like low sophistication. So people will just be relying on referrals to get business. That's dangerous. Do not rely on referrals. But when you've already got a few clients and you create and set up a referral program, that can be really lucrative. So let me give you an example. For any law firm that refers a law firm friend of theirs, we give them 40% of LTV of that customer on our ads retainer. So 40% of money they're earning, that's super lucrative. And it actually gives them a push to send us referrals, right? So like whether we get 6 or 7 referrals, sure, we might be making less money, but that business would not have come to us otherwise if it weren't for that referral program. More advanced is a webinar. So you can actually host like online webinars, workshops, events. And this is really good for you technical people that really, really want to, I guess, explain what it is that your system actually does. Okay. Yes, Sarah, 40% finder's fee is really, really high. And that's why our referral program works really well. And I actually picked this up from a recruitment firm that I worked for. When I found out that they gave, I think it was like 50% finder's fee, I was like, how does the math make sense? It's crazy. But when I saw the amount of referrals they were getting and the revenue that it was adding to their bottom line, it makes complete sense. Obviously, though, Sarah, it works for us because our profit margins are close to 90%. So if our profit margins were at like 60%, we wouldn't be able to give a 40% finder's fee. We'd be able to give like a 20% finder's fee, right? So I mean, it's specific to your business. And again, like just reiterating for any of the VIPs, if you're going to have specific questions about these acquisition channels, I'm going to be answering them and helping you guys as well. Okay. Richard, awesome. You're running workshops and donation based. See, the only downside to webinars, workshops, and events is you got to like to really make a successful one, you have to outlay a lot of cash usually. And that's the tricky part, right? Unless you want to do something completely free and then kind of just hope that you get business off it. Like the way that, I run webinars, workshops, and events is everything is really dialed in terms of numbers. So what I want you guys to understand is like you have your cold acquisition, slightly less complexity, less sophistication. As you get into the warm and hot acquisition, you want to start figuring out which one is going to make the most sense for you. I think someone just asked for the VIP link, so I'll quickly drop that in the chat. Yeah, you can still upgrade. There's no stress at all. And then we'll make sure you just join the WhatsApp group after because I'm going to be sending the Q&A link afterwards. Sorry, guys, I'm going to try and power through, okay? Because we are running out of time for day one. Cold outreach is free and an easy starting point. But here is the flow that I see most commonly. Okay, so if your question is like, what should I be doing? Try and insert yourself into this flow and see where you fall. So typically, you start with cold outreach, calls, emails, in person. Then you get a virtual assistant to help. A lot of you know what virtual assistants are. If you don't, just go on Upwork. You can hire like support staff from India, Pakistan, Philippines, Bangladesh. They're fantastic workers. They've got, all their reviews and everything up on the platform. They're usually very technically strong. And when you're initially starting out, you can absolutely get a virtual assistant to help you. Just be cautious though, hiring these people for more complex stuff like offer fulfillment and stuff. That's when you can run into a few problems. Then what happens after that is, you can build a more scalable cold outreach system. So you now have 2 people working. You can hire a 3rd person to come help you do outreach. Or this is the point where you've got a bit of cash in your business, you start to run ads. And typically, the most common paid ads funnel that I see is a VSL funnel. So can people drop in the chat if you know what a VSL funnel is? Can you guys just drop it in the chat, yes or no? Cool, awesome. So there's a mix of answers there. A VSL funnel is a video sales letter funnel. Basically, you run an ad, they click the ad, okay, takes them to a landing page. On that landing page, you have a video, okay? You have a video where you basically explain or walk through how you're going to help them solve their problem, and then you encourage them to book a call, okay? It's a very trusted, tried, and tested method of booking calls, okay? So it's going to work. Like VSL funnels work. However, they're now very like overdone. And I've almost noticed that like, based on our A/B tests, right? Because we A/B test 2 landing pages every single time we do a launch. People don't even watch videos as much anymore. Like sometimes they do, and I don't want to put this blanket statement out there, but like what I'm finding is, there is a bit of market sophistication. People are starting to see through the VSL funnel, and that's why you start to add a bit more complexity to the funnel. So you guys would have seen on my landing page, right? I had like this kind of interesting AI, like these interesting AI images as you swiped through the landing page telling my story. So that's kind of like a way that I added a bit of complexity and nuance to the funnel, right? And it's just, again, it's totally a preference and testing sort of thing. But yeah, I have noticed that what tends to happen in any market is people start to see through the sales process. So, years ago, everyone started saying, do VSL funnels. They worked fantastic. And then people started to see through them. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Abbas, absolutely. Attention spans are rotten now, like absolutely rotten. Like yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so like, a lot of people will just, coaches and gurus and stuff will say, run a VSL funnel. I say don't. I say there's so many more ways you can get creative with it. Like you don't need to do a VSL anymore. And I'm sorry to Jason, who just recorded a VSL. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying it's not a mandatory thing anymore. Okay. Add complexity to the funnel. So I've run all sorts of different funnels, like, yeah, like I've just been telling you guys about. And then you transition to a more advanced funnel, and that's when you can focus on predictable growth. Like the funnel that, like I've run webinar funnels, I've run book funnels, I've run VSL funnels, I've run workshop funnels, I've run in-person funnels, all of them. Okay. So if you want to ask me questions, like especially the VIPs, like ask away. What would you suggest instead of a VSL? You can spend money on ads, give away a digital product that's of value to your market, and then push them to a landing page. And on that landing page as well, like a lot of people build their landing pages on platforms like ClickFunnels, right? So there's ClickFunnels, there's Go High Level, which is, what I was using initially. Now I use Framer because Framer gives me a little bit more of like design capability and a bit of control over the design. And I'll add in like unique elements like notifications to like visually show the client what it is we're selling. I'll add in like a lot of AI imagery. So like Ollie helped me a massive ton on this sort of stuff, which is like creating really solid AI content that can connect you to your audience. And we'll come and talk about that on day 3 as well. But there's so many things, little things you can do to add complexity to the funnel to make it way more successful. Now, I know I've been telling you guys like running ads is important. What are the other benefits? You can control lead flow. You can test new offers. Like literally go into the ad account, change the wording of the offer, and boom, you'll notice a difference. It's scalable beyond your time. You can actually get data. And the first time I started to look at the data of my business, and sorry, I'm pronouncing it the Aussie way, but like data, whatever it is, it was when I started running ads. Okay. You can also position your brand like on demand. So if you realize, oh my God, like, we're getting a lot of traction for this offer that I'm running ads to, why don't I just, see if I can increase the price, like, or make the positioning a bit more towards a bigger market, enterprise level positioning, for example. Like, I'm targeting small law firms. Why don't I try targeting large law firms, right? You build authority a lot faster because people are seeing your face. Like people are seeing your face that are in your industry if you've set up all your targeting and everything correct. Okay. And way warmer leads than pure cold outreach. The people that come in from a rock solid funnel, and I'm talking like a rock solid funnel, are super, super warm to who you are. Like imagine it this way, right? My most successful law firm funnel, they bought a book, they read the book, they joined a community, they bought or they got access to my courses. They were in the community, they saw that I was running live events, right? They read through all the community chat history, everything. Then I made them book a call. Like they've been through like 6 touch points with me before they book that call. And that's a very complex funnel. But that's why when they book that call, I know that they're a serious buyer. And it's the same with your AI offer, right? Like when you add complexity to that funnel, when they, let's say you give them an N8N template, for example, like it's a terrible example, but sell an N8N template, the lead comes in, then maybe they join a community, for example. After that point, you might reach out and say, hey, do you want support installing this template? What are you trying to build agents for? Like, what are you actually trying to do in your business? And then boom, that's how you get you build that trust. So recency effect to build trust. Absolutely, Daniel. 100% spot on. The best thing about running ads is you don't have to have a massive budget. Okay, you can have a few $100s. I said that in some of the ads that I was running. Like honestly, when I first started running ads, my budget was $500 for the month. Like I was freaking out. Like spending $500. I'm giving $500 to Meta. I better get a client out of this. All you can do is simply stack cash and social proof until you have enough money that you can run ads. And social proof is important there because you need to be getting results, right? So for your initial first clients, you're doing that cold outreach, you're going there, meeting them in person, you're doing cold email, cold calling, whatever it might be. You're getting those initial results. You're not too worried about the money. And then, you slowly start to stack social proof or cash, and then that's when you can run ads. For starters, how much would you recommend in ad spend or budget? That's a very broad question. Like it fully depends on your market, your offer, what your average, cost per lead and stuff is. For the VIPs, I've shared with them a doc which I think gives them like at the start what my average cost per lead was. But look, cost per lead can vary anywhere from like $10. I would say even like in USD, maybe $6, $7 at the low end to all the way up to like $40, $50 per lead for more competitive areas. Okay. So that should give you a sense of like how much ad spend and budget you want. And it is like literally all math, right? So if it's costing you, let's say $10 per lead, and you have an ad spend of $1,000, that means you're going to get, what is that, 100 leads. Now, out of those 100 leads, if your show up rate is 50%, 50% of those leads are going to show up to your calls. And then if your close rate is at 70%, then 70% of those 50 people are going to become customers. And that's how you do the math of running ads. Cool. So if you can compete on economics, you can go further and compete in places your competitors simply cannot. Like I said, in the VIP, there's 2 documents which show you exactly how you can structure the math of running the ads. And there's also a client acquisition KPI calculator. Good question, Abbas. Still a bit lost as to where to find new clients, and is it better to find clients who are actively looking for automations or people who aren't? Okay, so just to clarify this, okay, you need to identify a pain in the market that goes beyond just the AI solution that you're selling. So I want to be really crystal clear with this. Like I'm going to go all the way back because I don't want to move past this, right? Like when we go all the way back here, okay, where is it? Let's see. One offer, one avatar, one market is super critical. So, for example, the pain that I identified with law firm owners, that is going to exist regardless of the AI tool that I'm selling. And that's the point I'm trying to make is there are new tools every single week. There are AI companies that are getting blown out of the water by a new startup every single week, which is why if you have one avatar that you're selling to, one market you're selling to, whether it's law firm owners, mortgage brokers, real estate agents, e-commerce businesses, and you use one way to reach out to them, then the offer can constantly keep changing. Okay. So don't necessarily break it down by clients who are looking for AI automations versus don't. Find a pain, identify a pain in your market, and then pursue that pain for that one client avatar. Okay. So I hope that makes sense to people because it's really, really critical. Yeah, perfect. Awesome. So let's jump back. We are running short on time. We'll go a little bit over. By the way, I hope you guys are getting value. If you are, just give me a thumbs up in the chat so I know that you guys are happy. Cool. So where are we? Awesome. So that was those are the resources in the VIP group. Okay. Here is a light version of it. It costs me X amount to get a lead. It takes me X leads to get a sales call. X leads show up to sales calls. X show up calls close. Okay. So this is the math of running ads, and this is how you know your ads are going to be profitable. It costs you $10 to get a lead. It takes me 10 leads to get a sales call, which means it costs me $100 to get a sales call. 50% of people show up to the sales calls. So that means, 5 people show up to the sales calls and 50% close. And then that's how you know how much revenue you make after spending a certain amount on ads. Okay. So you know exactly what price you should charge for your service and you know how profitable you will be. Cool. So like I said, upgrade link, I'm going to chuck it in the chat if you guys want to jump into VIP. You also get to jump into the Q&A after this as well. 0 to 30k.com/VIP. It's discounted right now, so jump in if you want. By the way, I'll quickly show you guys. Can you see my screen? Everyone can see the drive? Cool. So this is what we've got in here right now. We've got a moat worksheet. We've got GHL funnel templates. Like there's heaps of them in there. We've got the client-centric AI offer building worksheet. We've got the calculator. We've got the KPIs. I've got AI prompting guide in here. I've got the AI prompting guide in there. I've got AI tools, which is coming soon. That's an entire folder, by the way, that Ollie's going to populate either today or tomorrow. We've got some Go High Level courses in there. And I'm also going to put in a Go High Level onboarding document as well. Okay, cool. I don't know, looking as well. Where do I find this? Mike and Stevie, are you in the VIP? This is in for VIPs. Yeah. Okay, cool. So it's in the WhatsApp group. Have you joined the WhatsApp group? Yeah, awesome. Just go and jump into the description, or someone in the VIP WhatsApp group will send it to you. Beautiful. Okay, let's keep powering through. Now, pitching and selling your first client. For those of you that have made it through this point, I know some of you dropped off because you thought I was just pitching VIP, but there's still more to come for today. Pitching and selling your first client. Okay, this is my story, right? I pitched the idea to a small law firm that I had already signed. Okay, this was, my first client for this AI CRM. They had about 5 staff, 2 main practice areas, and were struggling with lots of leads but inconsistent follow-up. So they were intrigued by the promise of getting more qualified consults without the extra effort. And the way we pitched it to them was it's kind of like a virtual intake assistant that's working 24/7 to screen the inquiries to make sure that they can actually afford the consultation fee for your practice. Okay. So naturally, there was a lot of questions. There was a lot of skepticism early on. Okay. They weren't tech experts. I'm not a tech expert. And, they were basically saying like, this is an automated system. Like, like, is it secure? Like, will they, maybe will this be impersonable to clients? What if it misqualifies someone? Is our data safe? And this is the most important thing because someone asked about this. So like, how do you address these objections? You address every objection with honesty. Every objection with honesty. Okay. And obviously there's an extent, like you don't want to say, I have no idea how to do any of this stuff. No. But I was like full transparency. Like me personally, as the CEO of the company, I'm not in charge of, like all the back end stuff. I'm not in charge of the security, but we have hired X, Y, and Z person and a strong technical team who will get back to you with an answer. Like, these are your concerns. We're going to explain to you exactly how we're going to address them. Once I went back and gave myself a bit of time to actually speak to the team and say, look, this is their concern. They want this hosted on their local server. They want to make sure that the GPT is not giving legal advice. They want to make sure all these sorts of things. I was like, can we do this? Yes or no? So don't just, feel, did I already have a team at this point? Yes, I had a team. But like I said, this was a new offer I was building. So I hired one virtual assistant to help me with the automations. Okay. Look, I think a lot of these objections that you guys are saying, like, I fully understand and they definitely come up, but it massively depends on the acquisition method that you guys are using to get your clients, right? So if you're using the more warm methods, you'll naturally find that you're not getting questions like, are you outsourcing your work? Like, and you shouldn't be getting questions like that because that means there's a massive positioning issue, whether it's in your ads, your outreach method, whether it's on your landing page, your website. If people are asking you the question like, are you outsourcing your work? Then there's a positioning problem because I don't get asked that question anymore. But when I started, I used to always get asked those types of questions. Like my first client basically said to me, are you hiring people overseas to do this work? And that freaked me out. But when you actually position yourself the right way, you're using a warm client acquisition channel, you stop getting those questions. And then when you get objections, you have a bit of buffer time. So you can say, look, like, I'm the salesperson, I'm the CEO. I got to bounce through it anyway. This slide deck can be shared. No, there will be a recording. The slide deck won't be shared, but there will be a recording. Okay. So yeah, so honesty is what builds trust. You're not trying to oversell. Never ever try and oversell when you're pitching your first client. Okay. And where do you find these VAs? Fiverr, Upwork. And you just put in a job posting, write exactly what you're looking for and hire someone that's got experience. That's it. Very simple. On average, they can be anywhere from like a good VA can be starting from 10 US an hour. Okay. Now, this should give you guys a bit of hope as well. This is how I pitched my AI offer to one of the most famous lawyers in the world. And he's got about $500,000 on, $500,000, 500,000 followers on TikTok. And the way I did this was I knew for a fact, right? Obviously, I've got a lot of experience in this niche. I've built up authority, but I knew for a fact that this particular lawyer, just by looking at their funnel, their website, was getting a lot of traffic, but did not have a sophisticated backend. And how did I know this? I could tell by the form that he had on his website. That's it. I looked at the form he had on his website. I could tell that, like there was nothing really like he had a WordPress site, like the form wasn't collecting probably the information that he should have been collecting in order to actually qualify his prospects. And I could just tell that if he was getting he had 500,000 followers on TikTok. He was getting a shit ton of traffic, and his issue wouldn't have been getting leads. It would have been, how the hell do I qualify these leads without wasting hours and hours on the phone? And when I outreached to him, he didn't reply the first time. He didn't reply the second time. He didn't reply the third time. Eventually, on the fourth time I reached out to him with the pitch of saying, Jahan, I see you're getting a lot of traffic, you're getting a lot of leads, but you're just not qualifying them the right way. We've got a tool specifically for law firm owners that have between 2 to 10 staff, which I know that you have. Would you be open to hearing me out? I've done a demo for you. I got invited to his office. I went and did a custom demo for him, and I signed him as a client. Okay. And that's what I'm trying to say in terms of understanding the pain of your market. The 4 times I reached out to this guy, I pitched him on growth services, whereas he did not want growth services. That's why he never replied to me. It wasn't because, like, he's like, I wasn't selling something useful. It was just that it wasn't something that he needed. When I started telling him what he actually needed is when everything shifted and he actually responded. And I'm telling you, I was so persistent with him. I had sent this guy looms saying, like, Jahan, I really, really want to get you as a client. Like, like, just let me show you what we can do, blah, blah, blah. It never worked. Never worked. I said, let me buy you dinner. Let me do this. Let me do that. Like, I really wanted this client. And now he's one of the biggest champions for my brand, right? Within a few weeks. So, like, this is what I'm trying to say. It's not about the actual thing that you're selling. It's who you're selling it to and the pain that it's solving. Just basically reigniting my community. Obviously, like, there's different ways you can do this, and I'm fortunate that I have a community with lots of lawyers in there. But I feel like everyone has like something that they can activate, right? Whether it's a friend group, whether it's like reaching out to contacts and things like that. I'll show you the post that I made. It was, yeah, this one here. It's kind of like a typical sales letter style post. I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever done. Read this. My lead website designer came to me and said that she was done for the day. I looked at her and said, no more designs left. You had 4 you needed to do. I told this story, and then I said, I qualified. I said, there's a catch. If you want your free website redesign, you have to be under 10 staff and you have to comment the word design. Okay. So then we had like a bunch of law firm owners just comment the word design. I've pulled up an example. We've got this gentleman here who commented. Okay, this was their existing site. So Nightingale Solicitors, as you can see, like, for someone that has an eye, and look, you'll have an eye for whatever it is that you sell. I can look at this and just be like, there's so many issues here, right? Straight off the bat, like, we can optimize this in a day. So we took a template from Framer. We immediately just like upgraded everything. We scraped all the copy from their website, all the articles, everything, dumped it into ChatGPT, and just like fully just replaced all the copy. I at the time took like a full page screenshot of the website, of the front page, put it into ChatGPT, said, do a funnel breakdown of this front page, tell me what's wrong with it, what would cause issues in the customer journey, et cetera, et cetera. We built them this landing page, which took no time, and also like is a massive upgrade. Did I buy a new domain? Now, as you can see, this is hosted on a free Framer domain. So literally, when I say zero cost, zero cost. Like, I designed this on Framer. I think this was a free template too. We upgraded the images using AI as well, which was, again, like, you don't have to go that far, but that's something that we did. And then we plugged in their reviews as well, just 3 of them, just so they could see what it looks like. We fixed up their form with better like form fields, and we added an FAQ. And like, just imagine for your local business that does just like has no idea about any of this stuff. They're pushing a lot of volume because they're a busy business. They're in services like law, more, they're maybe a mortgage broker, whatever it might be. So they're making revenue, they're generating revenue, they're getting business, but they're just not dialed in on this sort of stuff. Like, even just building out an FAQ blew his mind. Like, he was like, oh, like, how did you get the answers to that? And I was like, we just took everything from your website and we just plugged it into ChatGPT and got a Q&A. So, presenting this was a really easy win for us. And like, this was just me using my creativity. This one isn't not going to work for all of your services, But again, it's the concept that might work, right? The hyper personalized effort concept that I was kind of sharing with you guys on day one. What is the mock-up domain site? So Richard, I just about needing to buy a new. Okay, cool. So I just restate that. I basically just built the site off a Framer landing page and just published it on a Framer domain. Yeah. So no need for any hosting or anything like that. Obviously, with this as well, you like we had the concern. We were like, do we just want to send them the link? Like, we don't want them to necessarily, just be able to just take the website and pass it off to someone. So what I did was I did a very quick Loom video where I made my head ginormous in the Loom video, like blocking out half the website. And I actually spoke them through what I felt like was causing them like low conversion rates on their existing website. And then I contrasted it directly with this one. So I was like,
Mm.
look, you guys, every single button on the website is directing to some random other link that pushes them to a different page. I said, if you want conversions, if you want to get people to fill out that form, which is the action that we're optimizing for, the buttons need to take them down to the form. And then I would show them their website versus the Framer site. And that was like insane for them because it like completely overblow it. It went way over their expectations. And also they got value out of it. They got education out of it. One of the acquisition methods that I mentioned was selling a low ticket digital product. And Sarah, what I was telling you about in terms of, doing this quiz sort of thing is a low ticket product. You could sell it for a small amount of money. You could give it away for free. It's a valuable resource, right? Personally, I would give something like this away for free. But if you want to execute on a slightly more advanced strategy, what I would suggest is building a resource like a mini course, for example, can work really, really well. So, Sarah, if you're selling coaching, you can build a mini course where it's effectively like a light version of, the consultation that you would do. It's just you giving broad information, broad value, and you can, sell that for a very small amount, like $47, 50 bucks, 60 bucks. And that's a fantastic way of getting leads because people who buy that low ticket thing, their identity shifts from, just being like seeing you as someone random to now they're a buyer, right? So they've already purchased with you, which kind of establishes that relationship. And then they already get value from you. And typically with these low ticket products, right, you create the product, you give an unfair amount of value in the product. So for example, VIP, it's probably fair to say by the end of this challenge, you'll feel like, oh yeah, I got way more value than, 100 bucks or whatever it was. So that's what you want to do with any low ticket or any front end product is over deliver on the value so that when they consume that thing, they've paid for it or they've got it for free. And they're like, wow, this was super valuable. And now I want to potentially work with this client. And like that's really helped me massively, massively scale the agency. I created a book. It was like a 120-page book. I put all of our systems in there. I had bonus chapters on, AI for lawyers. I built a whole community and I charged $27 for the book. So they buy the book, they have low expectations because they've paid a little amount for it. And then they're like, wow, there's so much value in this. I would love to see what this person does in terms of one-on-one. And the people that go ahead and basically, let's say, because a lot of people will say, all right, well, people might just go and take my system and just do it themselves. And I can see a lot of people thinking that in their head, right? Because it's a natural thought to have. But the reality is the people who will just do it scrappy and do it themselves and never ever pay anyone, they were never going to be your client to work with. Okay. They were never ever going to be your client to work with. So those types of people aren't the ones that you're going to work with anyway. The ones that do consume that content and think, okay, well, I want to now execute on this. I want to save time. Those are the ones that are going to come through your funnel and work with you. Okay.
Once you've landed your first client, it can be incredibly exciting, but a point where a lot of agency owners mess up is not dialing in their onboarding process. As soon as someone has made a purchasing decision, within 48 hours, they often have buyer's regret or buyer's remorse. That is why it's so critical for you to systemize your onboarding process to make sure that the first experience with your brand is 10 out of 10. Ultimately, this is make or break, as your client is at their most vulnerable as soon as they've made that purchasing decision.
This is some really, really good secret sauce that I want to share with you guys. I had a very similar issue, but what I started doing was I started positioning my onboarding as a free resource. And it's so,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's the best thing ever.
Okay.
So I'm going to upload my onboarding, Go High Level onboarding document. It's very comprehensive. It basically, actually, you guys can see my screen, right? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Just gonna pop into Jahan. Okay, so that story I was telling you about Jahan, that was a true story. None of that was fake, just so you guys know. And this is like the onboarding document that I'm gonna share with you guys as well. So implementation plan onboarding. So this is kind of how I break it down. It's a very comprehensive document, okay? And what I kind of say is like the goal here is to obtain as much info as possible, and it can be used as a post-completion internally as it asks questions we feel every law firm should know about their business, okay? And like obviously I changed this around because the way that this client has flowed into the business was we had a business relationship. They had a pain. We offered to solve the pain. We gave them the onboarding. But if I was to rework this as a free resource, what I do is I don't call this an implementation plan onboarding. I say like, efficiencies worksheet or like automation potential calculator or something like that. Like you just name it, something that's going to kind of reveal to them like where the flaws are in their system. And then what happens is the shift is the longer the document is, the more details you capture, the more value they feel like they're going to get because they've given so much information. And a really good way to set this up in the back end, Sarah, is through a platform called ScoreApp. Okay, so scoreapp.com is a really, really good platform. It's run by Daniel Priestley, who's an Australian entrepreneur, and he's really famous. You guys might have seen him. But what you can do with ScoreApp is build these really big, long, kind of dynamic quizzes where you give them an assessment at the end. It's an automated assessment of how they went with the quiz. So if I was to upload this entire thing into ScoreApp, right, based on the scores that they give themselves or the answers that they give themselves, we can give them like a rough score. So we can say, oh, it looks like you're operating at 40% efficiency. We can also then capture all that information. We have, think about it, like 6 pages of info to then give them a customized plan. And that's how you disguise that onboarding process and that sales process. So like the reason I feel like, because I often reflect on this with my friends and my like business partners, the reason I feel like the one thing that I attribute to being successful is simply like hiding the sales process. Every time I just get so creative with trying to hide the sales process or the offer process, just do it in a way that they're not used to seeing. And sometimes even the novelty of it is what will get them in the door. So
So your client copy here is a
Mhm.
dynamic form that feeds into ScoreApp,
Well, I
all
would
these
upload this
answers
as a
they put
dynamic
in?
form. Yeah, I would
Oh,
upload this as a dynamic form. The one that we ran was a much shorter version of this, but this recent onboarding form has just been built out. So, yeah, so this is very comprehensive. I would just take like the core
okay.
elements of it and put it into ScoreApp, for example, and use that as a lead magnet and it's kind of like an onboarding form. Um, and let's
Cool.
say, Sarah,
Thanks.
you've already initiated contact with a couple of firms or businesses. You can now go back and say, hey, just letting you know, like our team has spent the last month building out this tool. It identifies like all the like, inefficiencies within your business that can be automated. It's made specifically for XYZ business owners. Um, would you like me to send you a copy? Like that's it. You can go fill it out and we can give you a plan after. It's totally up to you. Um, and like it's counterintuitive, but like you don't even need them to send you the results. You can at the start just offer it as a free resource. Just be like, trust me, use this. It's like it's going to give you a really good understanding of, things that you've never asked yourself. And some of the feedback we've gotten from like these types of forms is like, oh, I never thought about some of these questions. I never thought about them. Like the crazy thing is we ask law firm owners the average time, response time to phone calls, and they don't know that information. And I'm like, guys, if you call them within a minute of the lead being submitted, you will get the business. Like it's the most obvious thing ever. But they're like, oh, I don't know. Sometimes the receptionist calls them after 30 minutes. And I'm like, this is the stuff that makes them see their own pain. It's like, oh, hang on a minute. Like we're not as efficient with picking up the phone as we could be. And then a really good thing that you can also do is people love benchmarking psychologically as well. So you can input benchmarks too if you want people to really like see their kind of shortcomings. You can say, I would put in here like phone, I would say uh, average time, let's say 3 minutes. And then what people are doing is they're like, oh, hang on a minute. I was going to put like 50 minutes. So like this, we're way, way, way off here. And that's really, really good to get them to start seeing their own, I guess, like, issues. And it also positions you as an expert, Sarah, because all that stuff that's your data, that's your IP that you're using, like that's your knowledge that you have. So they will subconsciously think, okay, well, Sarah knows the average response time for, I don't know, like mortgage brokers or whatever to respond to their clients. Sarah knows that. So it kind of starts to position you as more of an authority in that sense as well. Cool.
That's great. Thank you.
Now that we've been through all the critical elements of building your offer, acquiring clients, and onboarding them effectively, I'm now going to lay out a 60-day plan on how to get to 5K MRR if you're just beginning, or how to 3x your revenue in the next 60 to 90 days.
So that brings us to your 60-day 3x plan. The most important thing that I want to emphasize with this plan is action is a must. You need to basically set a goal that's in the near future. Okay, don't put this off for, I'm going to do this next year. You need to make your first 5K if you haven't made a cent yet, or 2 to 3x your current revenue. And this can genuinely be achieved within 60 days. So this is kind of how we're going to break it down, right? We're going to look at it in chunks of 2 weeks in terms of this actionable plan. Week 1 to 2, week 3 to 4, 5 to 6, and 7 to 8. And that should get you to your goal of 2 to 3xing your revenue or making your first 5K, okay? Now in week 1 and 2, you really want to focus on locking in one niche and one offer. So we've, started to kind of beat this horse a lot. So I don't want to keep harping on about it, but it is super critical that you figure out who your ideal client profile is, and you really build an offer that's build an offer around that ideal client profile. Okay. What you also want to do is create a working demo of your product, something that you can have conviction behind. And for those non-technical people, use all of Ollie's day 2 examples. If you're looking to get your first client, get your foot in the door, then by all means, use the hyper-personalized method. And the idea is use this first client as kind of like a beta test client, okay? So document the entire process of what it's like working with that client for yourself and also for social proof. So make sure that you get approval from them at the beginning, that you want to use them as a case study. And that's why you're willing to give up your time, give up your resources, money, whatever it might be. And yeah, now if you're someone that's, is getting that first client, the reality is your focus should be on product conviction, not trying to make money. You're not trying to get your first client for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. You want to start off by making sure that you can actually provide them a successful result. And, free trials is something that a lot of people tend to disagree on. And I don't think there's anything wrong with doing a free trial for, let's say, your first client or your first 2 clients, but there is a method to doing this, okay? For me, when I was running ads and I had to offer free trials, I was told by my mentor at the time to make sure that I don't run a 1-month free trial or a 2-month free trial. And I would say that this is really critical for those of you that are, charging for things like managing ads, building, let's say, building automations, for example, building a chatbot. Give them one really strong feature of that platform for a very short amount of time. Okay. The goal is to never hand over your IP and concentrate your product over 1 week to get them a quick win. So I'll explain this to you in terms of how I did it, right? So typically, let's say a law firm that had the budget of $2,000 to run ads for a month. Let's say I was offering them a free trial because I hadn't had any experience. I would say, we've created this new landing page method with an AI chatbot, and we want to show you guys the results that we can get. Okay. Now, what will typically happen is you run the ads on a client's account. What you want to do is run the ads on your own account and give them the leads so that they do not own any of your IP. They can't just kick you off the ad account and then, you're left just kind of wondering what happened. They can't do any of that stuff. And also it draws a line in the sand. It creates a boundary. Like, yes, I'm giving you something for free, but don't just think that, what I'm giving you is completely invaluable because I'm just handing it over to you. I'm handing you guys the keys. So run the ads on your own account and tell them that it's a 1 week process. So you're not going to drag out the ad spend over a month. You want to get them the result quickly. That's the goal. So $1,000 or $2,000 in ad spend across a month might get you 30 leads, for example. In 1 week, if you spend that same amount, you're still going to get the 30 leads because those leads are already in the market. So you'd rather deliver them those 30 leads qualified, using your system within a week, and their mind is blown. They're like, okay, yes, that worked really, really well. Let's discuss how we can go moving forward. So whether it's 1 week, 2 weeks, you want to do it faster than the actual time to build out your entire thing. Okay. And the goal here is quick wins. Quick wins include things like even onboarding. If you get the chance to give a client a free trial, wow them with your onboarding process. Have your onboarding documents ready. Jump on a call. Give them like a tailor-made experience. Give them a custom experience. When people have that boutique experience with working with you, sorry, then that's something they're going to remember. And they're going to, in their mind, associate, working with you as a brand with a positive experience. Like the first initial, touch point that you have with a brand once you buy for them is extremely critical. So, try and get those quick wins, especially if this is your first ever client. Okay. Now, in week 3 and 4, you want to be delivering by that time your first project. You want to deliver your first win. I've seen so many people get absolutely stuck in the process of like just delivering the first project for their client. And I understand, like, there are sometimes you immediately off the bat, you get a client that pays you really well. That's a totally different story. If you're giving them a free trial or if you're giving a lighter version of your project just to get a testimonial, you want to make sure that you deliver the project by week 3, absolute latest. Okay. At this point, if you have some cash in your account, and I'm talking, you just need a little amount to be able to do this, hire your first VA. Okay. Whether this is like someone that helps you with technical stuff, whether it's someone that helps you with minor admin tasks or helps you just do some outreach in the background while you're busy building, you need to do this. You can assign a budget of like $30 a week and get at least 10, 15% of your tasks out of the way. I promise you, we've all spent $50 on much stupider things than hiring support for our business. Okay. The next thing is target your first paid client with your full priced offer. That's when your mindset starts shifting. You should have a testimonial. You should also now translate your testimonial and offer into a landing page and start developing your onboarding system. Okay. By week 5 and 6, this is when you want to absolutely start trying to launch a warm inbound system for generating clients. And my favorite one is running paid ads. You don't need to do a VSL book a call funnel, which is, for those of you that missed it, a video sales letter on a landing page to a calendar. You don't need to do it that way. I've already shared with you guys that I created a really, really strong, I guess you can call it a lead magnet, but it was definitely a few steps ahead of a lead magnet. It was an entire book that I created to attract clients in. I sent paid traffic to that resource. Clients love the resource. They joined my community, and this was obviously very complex to set everything up, but at the end of it, the clients that bought the resource, bought my courses, bought the book, they were ready to buy. So anytime I got on a call, they were ready to start working. And the relationship wasn't one where I was getting any objections. They already perceived me as an authority. So there's plenty of different ways you can launch paid ads campaigns. And obviously, this can be shortcut if you have a strong mentor who's run ads before. You just look at their data and say, what worked for you? Can I basically replicate that in my own system? And by all means, absolutely, you can. I've seen people run ads for a long time, burn a lot of money, and they're still not doing it properly versus some people that just on the first go execute on a really strong ad campaign. Now, what I've noticed recently is that niche offers on Meta are crushing. So let me tell you guys some insights that we've gotten directly from Meta. Okay, so someone in our team went and visited the the Meta office and spoke to one of the Meta ads people. And this information is pretty public as well. Basically, it's all about the creative now. It's all about the actual static or video that you're running as the ad. The targeting has like diminished in value. So what this means is niche offers are absolutely crushing right now. Niche offers with a direct DM flow are just crushing on Meta. So I got an ad yesterday. It said, are you a business owner between, I think it was like 50K to 100K per month that is trying to scale your content team and is struggling with hiring editors from Upwork and Fiverr who make spelling mistakes, who deliver like slow and who don't streamline communication. And I was like, whoa, like I feel so personally targeted because I've been dealing with that for like the past 6 months. Then he goes, if that's you, all you have to do is send us a WhatsApp. He explained the whole process. He goes, we'll get you onboarded within 5 days. We can copy any editing style on the internet and we create up a Slack channel for communications, no spelling errors, no mistakes, editing exactly how you like it, all for $500 a month, paid up front. And I was like, that's perfect. That's so much cheaper than what I would have expected. It's exactly the system that I want. He's identified the pain point that's so specific to me. Like, how did he know that all these editors I was hiring were making spelling mistakes? It's a small thing, but I reached out to him on WhatsApp. He had an automation set up on WhatsApp, and immediately I booked an onboarding call with him. So this is how quickly people can buy from you if you speak directly to them with a vehicle like paid ads, okay? And that's the same thing as show selling versus tell selling. Don't just, show people what you can actually do and show people what they're going to get. Now, lastly, we want to start adding in our internal AI processes, which Ollie is going to cover in the second half. Now, week 7 and 8, this is where, you've started to ideally build up a lot of momentum. You want to start scaling up your ads using the meetings tracker that I've put in the drive. You want to start improving conversion assets. Like now should really be thinking of, if you've got 1 or 2 wins in your belt, can I create a really strong lead magnet that, might bring people in, might attract people in. And if you're someone that uses the platform LinkedIn, like LinkedIn is a very easy way to give away resources. Ollie has crushed it with using Instagram and Facebook to give away resources. He built an email list of 3,000 people, like within a very short amount of time, having no experience making content prior as well. So like this type of content. So, this just goes to show you like conversion assets are incredibly important in your business and can fast track your growth. You want to now focus on creating the onboarding experience for your clients. Okay. So making sure that your clients, like I said, have an amazing like first interaction working with you. Get that amazing first impression. You want to start developing internal docs for your most time-consuming processes, and then feeding this into the AI system that you're probably selling your clients. And lastly, you want to start setting your first data-driven scale goals. So now you can reflect on the last 8 weeks and say, this is what we did. This is our numbers. This is how we're going. How do we now push to the next goal across the next 60 days? And this is how you break it down. Why 60 days? This is one of my favorite quotes, okay? And it goes hand in hand with another quote that I'll share with you. Analysis must stop when action is available. Another quote that I want to share is, action alleviates anxiety always. You should stop planning in months and years and start planning for tomorrow, next week, and next month. We are in a fucking crazy time. Like things are changing so rapidly. I had this discussion with Ollie last night. We were on call and we were just saying, when we first started using ChatGPT, how insanely different it was back then and how much weaker it was compared to what it is right now. Like we were blown away back then when we were using it, when it could just create like a random poem, when we gave it some like descriptions and it made this cool poem that rhymed. We were like, whoa, this is the coolest thing ever. Now we have ChatGPT agents, guys. Please get this in your head that if you're not playing the game, if you're deliberately saying, I'm going to sit out for a few months and just observe, no, it's not going to work. If you remember the kind of anecdote that I told you guys about rudimentary, it's literally entire orders of magnitude more powerful than it was last year. Exactly, 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 exactly. And if you guys remember the gold rush story that I told you, yes, I think it was William Sutter. He stood back on the hill, he observed where the flows were, and that's when he went and sold his products. But the key thing is he did not stay there and analyze for the entire fucking gold rush. Yes, he didn't just flock to where everyone else was flocking. He took a step back, analyzed the environment, which I'm hoping you guys have done now, at least across the last 3 days, and then he fucking acted. He took action. Like every time in my life I've been in a position where I'm not taking action, my anxiety is higher. I don't know what's going on. I feel like everyone's flying past me. I'm not acting. So, I hope this is drilling into at least one of you that's on this call. Take action. You have enough information. Take the action.
Now, the reality is, as you scale your agency, you're going to run into some problems. And this short module covers what those problems might be. I'm also going to go over the math on how to actually scale once you land your first client.
Beautiful. So, guys, this is the unfortunate reality of 90% of agencies. And I will tell you that for a very long time, I was stuck in this exact same hamster wheel, barely profitable. Like at the end of the month, even if I had collected, let's say $9,000 or $10,000 at the time, I would pay my Amex bill, American Express bill, and it would be like $11,000. I'd be like, how did that happen? Like, I have no idea how that's happened. I thought I made money, right? All us entrepreneurs know that feeling. We have a lack of a streamlined infrastructure. I remember, early on, I kind of didn't know where I should be focusing my attention in my agency. And now I have the reverse problem where it's like I have a lot of different channels to focus on, and I have to cut them down and keep focusing on cutting them down. Um, Moving between cold systems to get clients, right? So initially, for me, cold emailing, cold calling. For you guys, you might have noticed that you've kind of bounced through a few different cold systems and you've heard about things like running ads and you haven't done that quite yet, even though, as I said, a lot of you are actually doing that for your clients. You're helping your clients generate business through paid vehicles, but you're not doing the same things yourself, and that's really something you should start to think about. Alternatively, there are people that I've spoken to that have been running ads and they've just said, I just burned a lot of cash and didn't get any high quality leads. And, my response to that is there's no such thing as an industry that doesn't have high quality leads. It's just does not exist. I promise you. There's always something that you can improve on when it comes to, your paid inbound advertising. There's always something you can improve because I guarantee you there's a competitor in the market that's probably eating up 80% of the business. And we all know how that feels. Okay. Another massive issue that, I actually added in just last night because I noticed it across the last 2 days is there are a lot of people that are lacking conviction in their product and they're not confident in actually selling the product itself. And what you'll notice is it's kind of like this beautiful harmony that needs to happen where you've got an acquisition system that's giving you the confidence that you're speaking to real interested prospects. You also need an offer that makes you feel like you're getting paid, worth your time, and in prospects are interested. But then you also finally need a product that you think isn't just going to be replaced, something that's understandable by your market, something that's genuinely valuable. And a lot of you people are struggling with that as well. And I think you would agree that lack of conviction is a dangerous position to be in. It's very hard to sell when you're not when you don't truly believe internally that what you're selling is valuable. When you actually believe what you've got is valuable, you'll shout it from the rooftops. Just to finish off, don't know how to build a small and lean team. I noticed a lot of people, weren't actually aware of things like virtual assistants. I'm going to give you guys a little hack as well. Like building a small team, you can also hire interns, pay them a small amount. Obviously, make sure that you're complying with the law in your particular area. And you know, getting one or two people to believe in your vision, assigning them even small tasks. Like when I first started hiring 2 or 3 VAs, virtual assistants from platforms like Upwork, I had them working maybe 4 hours a week. But for me, it was that unlock in my brain that I can actually outsource things to people and it's worth the time and money, and these people are doing, let's say, 80 to 90% of the same job that I thought no one else could do. So those of you that know Dan Martell, buy back your time. That's a really important thing to consider. And yes, university students, these people are dying for mentorship, dying for experience, especially in fields like AI. If you can, make someone young believe in your vision, I promise you they're going to be a fantastic asset to your business. And when you can afford to pay them like a proper, like let's say a contractor's rate, then by all means, they'll already be trained, they'll be hungry, they'll be ready to go. The culture has shifted. Like Gen Z does not want to work in corporate offices. I can promise you that. They don't want to have typical 9 to 5 jobs. They want to work in exciting, small businesses. That's a massive shift that's happened. Lastly, and most importantly, the current reality of a lot of you is you're not clear on your numbers whatsoever. And I understand that it might not make sense. It's like kind of like putting the cart before the horse by saying, you should know your numbers before you even get a client. But you absolutely can use benchmarks and predictions. And, I can help you do that in order to find out what your numbers should be. Like based on the thing that you're selling, how much are you selling it for? How much should it cost you to acquire a client? What should your show up rates be? What should your close rates be? So on and so forth. And thankfully, that's the benefit of having experience selling in the market. Now, what's really fascinating in my experience has been all three of these stages from 0 to 5K, from 5K to 15K, and from 10K to 30K literally require the same effort. It's not about how hard it is to go, from 10K to 30K versus 0 to 5. It's all hard because in that stage, you can't see your current bottlenecks. And these are kind of the general bottlenecks that I've noticed across, the last few years working with a lot of students, but also, in the last 2 days as well. First of all, from 0 to 5K, what you should be focusing on is just brute force acquisition. You need to be just finding a way that you can speak to your first client, get your first client to, see your vision, to commit at least their time or some form of money to your product. Um, you know, and in order to be able to do that, you genuinely need to prioritize product conviction. You have to believe in what you're selling. Which is why I really think if you've joined in on this 3-day event and you've been thinking like, I don't really know yet, what I should sell. Maybe I should just sell something that's easy. I promise you that's not the right approach to take whatsoever. You would rather fall back into the category of a non-AI based agency offer than forcing yourself to sell, something that's repackaged, white labeled that you don't understand, because fulfillment's going to be a nightmare. And I'll tell you guys a very quick story, okay? When I started running ads for law firms, I realized I had no idea how to run ads on Google whatsoever. I'd never opened up Google AdWords, and I hired a media buyer to go and run these ads. The minute that, onboarding started and they were asking me questions, I was running back and forth between the media buyer and the client nonstop. And it became very obvious to the client that I didn't know what I was doing. I lacked product conviction. So yes, action is always important, but you do need some education, some understanding, a baseline of a technical understanding of what it is you're selling. If you don't know what it is you're selling, you can't convince someone else to buy it from you, right? Now, 5 to 15K, you really need to solidify your offer. That's the most important thing. Like dial in your offer. Who is this for? Who is the ideal client profile? You want to start hiring initial support. And, a lot of you might be thinking like, yes, I want to just run a solo one-man agency and, that's all well and good, and I'm not against that whatsoever. But even with a one-man agency, there is no harm in hiring help. In fact, I would say it's critical to hire at least one virtual assistant the minute that you can afford to do so, because it teaches you to buy back your time. It teaches you the art of delegation. It forces you to build systems, and it's critical in any business. The reality is all of us, we have different goals that we're pursuing. And I promise you, like, as much as we love the sport, as much as we love the game of entrepreneurship, there's going to be a point in time where you don't want to be on the laptop, on the tools 24/7. And that's why you need to start building out processes. And once you start hiring these virtual assistants, you will be forced to create looms, create modules, create a library of all your docs and processes. And regardless, when we come to the end, when Ollie teaches you the internal AI systems, that's exactly what you're going to benefit from. The more data that you have on your systems and your IP in the business, every little thing, it could be the smallest thing. Like, let's say if I was a t-shirt designer, if I was selling t-shirts on an e-commerce store, right? I would just document the process of me designing the t-shirt so that down the track, I can just bring on a designer who can get to 80, 90% similarity as to what I would produce, right? Beautiful. Now, 10K to 30K, this is a very interesting one because funnily enough, I found it easiest to go from 10K to 30K, or in fact, even 5K to about 30K. And you saw with my new offer that I launched, the AI offer, first month, 5K, that was one client. Then we jumped up to about 33,000 in revenue within a month. And yeah, it's once you understand the formula, it can very, very easily be done. Your focus, if you're in this bucket, should be across the next 60 days, scale client acquisition, hire fulfillment support, so people that can actually help you deliver outstanding results. And this is something that's going to help you increase retention, like I said, especially if you're charging, let's say 50% upfront for whatever it is that you're selling or building. This is going to be what helps you retain people. When you deliver an outstanding product quickly, then there is no doubt in my mind you will be able to pull more business out of that client, whether it's through referrals, whether it's through upsells, whether it's through ongoing support, whether it's through a retainer, whether it's through consulting. You will be able to extract more lifetime value from that client if you can deliver a fantastic first product. Okay. And lastly, and most importantly, 10K to 30K is all about repeatable metrics. What are your numbers in terms of acquisition? How much does it cost you to get a customer, and why are we not scaling? If I told you right now, okay, that it costs you $500 to get a customer that you make $1,000 off, you would just keep putting $500 into that slot machine and getting back 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. And honestly, your business can get to a point where you have some clear understanding of your numbers and you can literally just increase ad spend, have more sales calls in the calendar, and end up closing more business. It's numbers. It's just that's how it works, right? But in order to get to that position, you do need to have a solid backend. You need to have a solid offer, good fulfillment, some support staff. And there are things that you need to lay the foundation for before you can get to that phase. So this is the scaling calculator that I use in my business as well. It's super simple, but did anyone have any questions regarding this? What I was talking about in terms of like doing the math on scaling? Does anyone have any questions, or are you happy for me to just walk through the calculator? Because I can show you the calculator. Happy for me to walk through?
Yeah, sure.
Cool, cool. Beautiful. Okay, so if you look at your ticket price, that is the price of the thing that you're selling. Like let's input that for now at $5,000. Okay. You input your close rate, and I've just put some standard ones there, but let's say you close 25% of people. Okay. Let's say that your show up rate is about 70%, which is like pretty good show up rate for meetings. And then your lead to call conversion is about 0.15%, and your cost per lead is $15. Based on these target revenues, you know that you need 2 clients to hit that target revenue, which means you need 8 phone calls to be held, which means you need 12 calls in the calendar, which means you need 80 leads. And why this is so valuable is because you can calculate whether it makes sense for you to spend money on ads. And I think someone in the chat also asked, like how much should I spend on ads? This will tell you. So based on the value of the thing that you sell, if all you want to do is get to $10,000 a month and you just need 2 clients, you just need 80 leads in that month. And how do you get those 80 leads? Well, at a rough cost per lead of $15, you'll be spending about 1.2K. Now, this is not always going to be as perfect as this in reality. You'll have varied show up rates. For example, you might have a really high cost per lead, and you could be like, Rudy, my math doesn't make sense because my cost per lead is $80 and I'm spending 7K on ads and now I have no profit left. And I'll be like, okay, cool. At least we know that your problem is bringing your cost per lead down. It could be an offer issue. It could be an ads issue. It could be an ad setup issue.
This chapter is now going to touch on some AI agency specifics for those of you that are interested in building an agency that's backed or powered by AI solutions.
Some interesting news, right? The world is right now voting with their dollars. So attention is where all the money is going. Where are the biggest companies looking? And Ollie and I were discussing this last night. Ollie?
Yeah, so Y Combinator, which is one of the biggest funds for backing startups, they're all about AI. They're on the front. And while everyone might be looking online and saying, oh, AI is coming for jobs, AI is doing this, it's not true. It's already here. It's coming for jobs, and they're backing these new term called full stack AI companies. Yesterday, I put on my story, there's a full stack investment bank now. You have like a few AI engineers and then a couple of financial people, and they're running a whole thing. They're already doing like 10 mil in their first year, like easily. And the coolest part is they're running circles around dinosaurs now. That's how these old businesses are moving. Manual, hundreds of people. There's still people like writing on paper or just simple Google Docs and not using ChatGPT. It's crazy. Like it's not coming. It's here now, and it's coming for jobs. It's like the farming revolution. You go from 200-person farm to one person driving a tractor. You have to learn to drive the tractor, and you're already here on this call and you're getting started, but it's here now. Like I want to really drive it into you. I'm literally, my little brother's still in high school and I am hammering him to use GPT. I don't care if his teachers are saying, don't use it, all these things, because I'm genuinely like afraid if he doesn't use this and doesn't become comfortable with it, he's going to fall behind. If he starts a degree or goes into a job and he's not using this, he's going to fall behind. There's going to be nothing there. It's a really crazy time, and it's exciting as well. Like you have to be excited. You can't be scared. You have to embrace it because it's going in one direction and you got to ride that wave.
Absolutely. And guys, like I'm no better, like I'm probably the best example of this. Okay. Like traditional Google Ads agency. I'm telling you right now, I will not be a Google Ads agency for the next 365 days. I know that. And I don't have any fear or like any concern towards that because I'm at the forefront adapting. I force myself to adapt. I put myself in an uncomfortable position. I learned about all the AI tools. I've hired people, like amazing people like Ollie in my team to help me build out these AI offers. And that changed my thinking around everything. And like, I want to be part of this revolution. And I'm sure a lot of you are in the AI gold rush. And I want to tell you guys a story. I want to tell you what that actually means. Now, James Marshall was the one that first discovered gold at Sutter's Mill. So that was the spark that fueled the California gold rush. Okay. Now, overnight, literally 300,000 people showed up to the front door of California, and they were all chasing the same dream: strike it rich. Now, you can probably start to draw some parallels here with the AI gold rush, right? But there's a very interesting character that I want to focus on, and that's Samuel Brennan. He was a store owner in San Francisco, and instead of just rushing to mine for gold, he started looking at where all the frenzy was. He bought every single shovel, pan, pickaxe for an average of about 15 cents. Okay. And instead of digging, he studied where the crowds were. He studied where everyone would rush. He understood the need behind the chaos, and he placed himself where demand was guaranteed. Now, remember I told you 15 cents? He ended up selling an average of $2 per item at peak, right? So what he did was he built a system centered around where the true demand was in the market, okay? And the way that we can relate to this is today AI is our frontier. But what most people do is they just rush to where the gold is, right? They just behave like the gold seekers at Sutter's Mill. They just own drag and drop tools. They take repackaged N8N templates, which Ollie's going to talk about a lot tomorrow. And they just simply follow what everyone else is doing, chasing the hype, instead of actually sitting back, observing the landscape that we're in right now, looking at where the transformation is happening, and then identifying where there's a genuine demand. Okay, so I hope you guys can understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's about selling the shovels. I'm saying it's about observing the landscape. And I will give you a better analogy for all of my Americans. Think about it this way, right? You have the Super Bowl. It's a massive enterprise, makes a shit ton of money, but it's not just the Super Bowl as an enterprise that's making money, right? You have the sponsors who are selling their products. You have advertisers, you have crowd members, you have food stalls, you have players, you have contractors, right? Like some of the food stalls at the Super Bowl will be making more money than most businesses make in an entire year. So I want you guys to realize that it's actually about playing to your strengths, okay? Not just about following what is trending. And that's something I really want to drive home. And I want to inspire that in a lot of you guys because I'm not a technical person whatsoever, okay? I have never pretended to be a technical person. My expertise is in marketing, consulting, business growth. I am not a technical person. Yet I launched an AI offer 2 months ago, and in total, that AI offer did almost $40,000 in revenue and close to 90% profit margins. So it can be done, but you do need to have a very intimate understanding of what your strengths and weaknesses are. Okay. Now, how was I able to do this? In general, the agency that I've created is a business for one client avatar. I'm not even saying for one niche, right? Like lawyers is my niche, but I actually have a very specific client avatar that I pursue. I know my client avatar better than anyone else that's in this Zoom call, better than anyone else in the country, and better than anyone else in the world. Now, that might not be objectively true, but that's what I like to believe. And that's exactly why I've been able to sell an AI offer with no technical background. Okay. So the pain that I identified in my market was that law firms between 2 to 10 staff, often with two practice areas. So imagine like a law firm that has criminal law and a law firm that has personal injury. Okay. They had one repeat issue, which was they couldn't manage two pipelines for two law firm partners without forcing these partners to waste a shit ton of time on long calls with prospects who couldn't even afford the consultation fee. I hope you guys can notice how that's an extremely specific problem that I'm actually pursuing. So I asked myself, right, how can I solve this very, very specific pain with AI? This was my offer, okay? Super simple. And for all of you AI nerds, you'll look at this and you'll think this is insanely simple. And it is, right? That's the beauty of it. Go high level CRM, automations plus a chatbot. And I charge a one-time fee between $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and then ongoing support, which is just me, a support member in a Slack channel for 300 US a month. Okay, in month one, I went to one of my clients, pre-existing clients, and I sold them this build for about $5,000. In month two, we sold three, doing total revenue of $33,000. And the simplicity is what made this so, so beautiful. Okay. All I had to do in terms of adding extra help was just hired one extra automations virtual assistant from the platform Upwork. That's it. That's literally it. Okay. And I'll come back and talk about that a little bit deeper later as well. As I mentioned, the tech is straightforward. My value was actually the intimate knowledge of the legal industry. I knew what questions to ask leads, what red flags to screen for, and how lawyers actually prefer to work. Now, full transparency, it's easy to set up an automation like this, but still knowing what automations to set up and how to actually word them and explain them to my legal clients is what made this so effective. And that's something that no AI tool can do just quite yet. It can't sell itself quite yet, okay? We might get there at some point, but not yet. So my success story is not yours. You might be looking at this and think, okay, I'm going to go sell CRM automations to law firms, but that's not going to work for you, right? But the fundamentals are going to work for you. And that's what I want to teach you guys. Now, I want you guys to right now identify whether you're a technical or a non-technical founder, okay? Because this makes a very big difference as to the type of business that you build from 0 to 30K. First of all, what are the pros of being a technical founder? Okay. You have a deep understanding of AI systems, so you know what's actually possible. You can offer things like high leverage consulting, right? So clients that have internal teams, think about businesses that have like CTOs, for example. You can speak directly to them and speak their language. You might be able to build proprietary tools and systems. You might have better product intuition, and these things are going to serve you massively. Another big thing here that I haven't included in the text is your understanding of security is usually better, because that's a big concern for a lot of clients, right? Is how are you building this AI system? Where is it hosted, et cetera, et cetera. Richard, great question. What if you're a mix? Most people are a mix, right? So what I would suggest is you identify where your strengths and weaknesses pull from in both of these camps, right? Now, non-technical, you can speak the language of your niche a lot better, right? Because you're understanding the base pain point that you're going to translate into an AI solution. You're usually stronger at positioning and packaging. Usually these non-technical founders, such as myself, are more sales-driven, and there's often a massive bias towards action and simplicity. So some of the agency owners I've coached, like, how would you handle that security objection? Great question, Zubair. It's actually in this presentation. I got that objection and I handled it, so I will teach you about that later. Now, what I was saying is, after coaching a lot of agency owners, I've realized like the ones that are non-technical often get success a lot quicker than the technical ones, because they're not stuck in the weeds and they just have a bias towards action. Like, I'll tell them, go do this, and they'll just do it. And they don't get lost in the thought and in the process of things. They just act and execute. And that is fundamentally the most important thing. Okay. Now, what are the cons? So if you're a technical person, you might struggle with client acquisition. So a lot of you technical people will be feeling this right now, okay? You might undervalue marketing. So you might tell yourself it's not that important. And you might even tell yourself that, like, my product is so good that it's going to sell itself. Unfortunately, I'm here to break that reality for you. It will not sell itself, right? Better product does not equal more clients. You might speak in their language. Sorry, you might speak in your language, but not their language, right? So sometimes the prospect just wants to hear, like, will this save me time or money, right? Can you just tell me whether it's going to do that? And you might be trying to explain how your system works and all this kind of stuff, right? You might over-engineer solutions. So the same way that I sometimes get trapped in just working on the marketing of my agency because I absolutely love that, technical founders will just constantly be constantly engineering, even when their real bottleneck is messaging, production, distribution, advertising. They're not focusing on all of those things. They're just simply trying to build. Now, for non-technical founders, right, you could be trapped in trends. And this is what I've seen for people that are usually in the 0 to 5K mark, right? So because you don't have that technical filter in your mind, right, you might end up just buying into someone else's hype. And as you guys can probably start to see, I'm not here shilling you guys any hype. Like, I'm actually telling you guys not to follow the hype, right? So you might fall into the trap of selling, AI chatbots, or now there's ChatGPT agents, right? Which literally just released. So you might get stuck in trends. You'll probably have an over-reliance on white label tools, which fundamentally is an issue because, this can become commoditized really fast. You don't actually own the infrastructure and you're just reselling shit, right? Which is always a little bit of a tricky business model, right? If you don't have the right technical partner with you, then delivery becomes a lot shakier. And it's very easy to get outpaced by people who know what they're doing, right? Because tools are constantly evolving and you might not be able to differentiate between a useful thing to pursue and a non-useful thing to pursue, right? Great. So I hope that now a lot of you guys, yeah, absolutely, Daniel, having business acumen definitely helps with this. And that's what I'm trying to kind of explain to you guys now, is understand where your strengths and weaknesses lie, because that's going to help you massively. Now, there are 3 types of offers that we can build in terms of AI, right? So you have your generic agency offers, lead gen, Google Meta ads. You can build funnels, you can do email marketing, you can do CRM setup, website designs, branding, all that kind of stuff. Super generic. You've also got AI enhanced offers, so things like AI powered lead gen, AI optimized ad creatives, smart CRM build outs, content systems that are powered by AI, these sorts of things, right? So I would imagine that a lot of you are trying to build an AI enhanced offer. If that's you, just drop it in the chat if you feel like that's what you're trying to build, okay? And lastly, we've got AI centric offers, okay? So AI centric offers are for the AI purists, right? So this is stuff that Ollie will briefly mention now and then talk about in more detail on day 2.
Yeah, so these are like where you're going kind of full stack AI, taking it to a whole nother level. And on the back of what Rudy said, having that one specific offer, you understand all the manual processes, all of the frustrations they having, what their exact goal are, and you can reverse engineer that. So it's full stack AI. You're doing things with multiple tools. You're doing things like context engineering, where you're pulling so much data in automatically, but it makes the AI output better instead of some basic ChatGPT slop that usually most people do.
Yeah, awesome. And yeah, Ollie's going to talk more about these AI-centric offers tomorrow. But I just want to make one thing clear as well. It doesn't really matter which one of these you choose to sell. Like, I don't want the AI purists to think like because my AI-centric like because it's an AI-centric offer, it should do better in the market. Like, I promise you right now, there's agencies doing the most simple basic service. Like my agency just still does Google ads and we still consistently make good money, right? So just be aware of the fact that it doesn't matter so much what you choose to pursue, but again, it depends how you position your offer, the market that you're pursuing, the pain point that you're solving, and those sorts of things. Okay?
Now, I hope you got a lot of value from watching this course, and hopefully you'll walk away with an actionable plan to execute on in the next 60 days. Now, naturally, you guys will have questions, so feel free to reach out on Instagram, DM me at Rudy Ahi if you have any questions, and stay tuned for any upcoming webinars that I might have. If I've got one coming up, it'll be linked in the description below. And I'll see you guys next time.